Hey everyone, welcome to class number 2, Baba's Vegan Kitchen. So today we're going to do Maqlubeh, which in English Maqlubeh, which means upside down. Because as you know, Maqlubeh, the whole point of Maqlubeh is you cook it in a pot on a stove. You let all the vegetables, juices flow together and the spices flow together so they all sort of marinate together. And at the end you flip the pot over. You flip it. And then you end up with, in theory, you end up with a nice solid cake looking thing. We don't want a stew, and that happens if you cook the water too fast. You boil the water too fast, everything gets jumbled together, you don't end up with the layers, so you got to keep it all on low heat. So the trick to Maqlubeh is low heat so that you don't mix everything, but you got to have enough water to cover the rice so you don't end up with hard rice. Another problem with Maqlubeh, the key to it, to getting it good, is plenty of allspice. And another key is the eggplant. We're doing eggplant Maqlubeh. There's different kinds of Maqlubeh: cauliflower Maqlubeh, peas and carrot Maqlubeh. Eggplant Maqlubeh tastes great. It's my favorite food, but the danger with Maqlubeh is you don't get the vegetables cooked enough. There's nothing worse than chewy eggplant. That'll ruin the dish. Alright, so those are the keys to Maqlubeh. Let me just go through the ingredients real quick. First of all, the pot. You need a pot with a straight edge, because when you flip it, if you have something at an angle, that what's on the top is going to be much smaller than what's on the bottom. So you're going to end up with, the top's going to be the veggies. So you're going to have a little bit of veggies and a lot of rice or bulgur or whatever you're using. And you don't want that, so you want a nice flat edge. Okay, then we're going to have the garbanzo beans. Make sure you soak them overnight. I use about 3/4 for a pot about that size. The garbanzos really expand when they get wet, so just barely put a little bit of garbanzo on the bottom of I use a cereal bowl, and then just cover with a ton of water. So for something about this size, about a 3/4 cup, you just want one layer of garbanzos after it's expanded. Alright, so that's the garbanzos. Make sure you soak that tonight so they're going to be ready for you tomorrow. Alright, then we have cashew. So I used about 2 cups of cashew. I'm not sure I'm going to need it all, but the problem is my Vitamix, you got to cover the blade with the food or else it'll just spin. So it takes about 2 cups of cashews. They don't expand as much. You don't need to soak them as much, maybe 5 hours. I'm going to soak them from now, so I've got about 2 cups of cashew. I've got a cereal bowl, and I've just coated it to the top of the cereal bowl with water. That's going to go overnight. I'll probably put it in the fridge so it doesn't go bad overnight. So that's the cashew. Hot olive oil, and don't forget that. You're going to need some of that to cook in. So then either rice or bulgur. So I use bulgur. This is coarse bulgur. There's fine bulgur and coarse bulgur. The fine bulgur is for tabbouleh, and this is for cooking instead of rice. I use it because it's much easier to cook, to get it nice and moist. It takes about 15 minutes to cook. Rice can take like 40 minutes. If you cook veggies, boil them for 40 minutes, you're going to lose all the flavor and the texture. So if you're going to use rice, a lot of you maybe don't have access to bulgur. I would soak the rice first so it absorbs all the water and it doesn't take as long to cook. But if you can get some rice that cooks in about 20 minutes, you don't want instant rice because that's too fast. But something about a 20-minute, 15-minute cooking time is what you're looking for. All right, veggie broth. So I make my own veggie broth. I haven't bought veggie broth from the store in years because it seems like a waste of time. What I do is whenever I get like veggies, I cut them up. Like here's an eggplant top, onion tops, whatever you've got, leaves for cauliflower, just leftover veggie stuff that you've chopped up when you're prepping. Just put them in a bag. End of the week, put them all in a big bowl, a big pot of water. Boil them for about an hour. Get all the juices out of them, all the vitamins out of them, and then drain it out, and that becomes your veggie broth, and it's healthier and probably better for you. Next thing is a couple of tomatoes. So 1 tomato we're going to use for the Maqlubeh, 1 tomato we're going to use for the cashew cream yogurt salad that we're going to do on top of all this dish. Spices. So we have nutmeg, not many spices, but Going to be a little bit of nutmeg, a lot of allspice. If you under put the allspice, it'll be really bland. Nobody's going to like it. So make sure you have lots of allspice. And then we're going to sprinkle some salt, depending on your own taste. Cucumbers. So I use the, this is also for the yogurt salad. Get the Persian cucumbers. They're the smaller ones. The bigger ones, I don't use them. They're just overpowering, taste too strong. Persian cucumbers give you the juice you want, so it's not too dry. It's not overpowering. We're going to need the last two things for the cashew cream yogurt is a lemon. We use about half of it, and a couple of teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. All right, that's all the ingredients you need. So for prepping, let me just show you real quick. So prepping, we did the cashew and the garbanzos. The only thing you need to prep other than that is the eggplant and the potato. So let me show you how to do the eggplant first. So the eggplant, you want everything to be bite-sized. You don't want it too small or else you don't get the taste and the texture. And you don't want it too big because then you got to use a knife to chop it up, or you got to cut it up. So I would just cut the eggplant. So I've probably put it in thirds. Width-wise, I cut it. All right, and then I'm going to just do quarters. So one down here. Okay. So I got sizes like this. Obviously, that's too big. All right. So then I just cut length width-wise again on these, and we're going to do about 1/4 inch. And it's critical here that this is a really critical part that you don't do more bigger or wider than 1/4 inch, because then it'll take too long to bake, and you'll end up with chewy eggplant, and that's going to ruin your dish. Trust me. Nobody likes chewy eggplant. Okay, and this is going to shrink when you cook it. So this is the size I want. I got little quarters, and it's about 1/4 inch in height. And then let me do the other part of it. So I've got this in quarters, about 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to throw them all in a bowl, a mixing bowl. Okay, and then I'm going to just add a bunch of oil. Don't ask me how much, just a lot. Especially if you're using Hug's oil, you can buy some more Hug's oil. So here's all my eggplants. I'm just going to, actually no, let me put the salt first. I want to put a little bit of salt. And then we're going to put some oil on there. Drizzle some oil. How much am I putting? About half a tablespoon maybe a little more. And then just mix everything together. I use my hands because I'm the only one who's eating this, so that all the eggplants are coated. And then you're going to put it on a baking sheet and put it in the oven. So that here. And then we get to the potatoes. Potatoes, same thing. You want to do about a bite size of potatoes. So here's my potato. I'm going to cut it in 1/4. So there's half. There's 1/4. And then I'm going to go. You know what? This is a big enough potato. I'm going to do one more in half. So let me just show you what the end result is. All potatoes look different, so you're just going to have to cut it in the end so that it's about this size. So I'd say a little bit less, about half the size of the width of the eggplants, because these aren't going to shrink probably much at all. So I got all of these, and so just to save time, I already put some in the oven. So you put them in the oven about 35 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on your oven, depending how wide you made everything. And I put it at 400 because you want it crispy on the outside. You might try boiling it. I've tried it before. It's kind of risky to boil it because it's hard to get it just right. What you want is a nice brown color. So about halfway through, check it. If it's brown, flip it over, then brown the other side. And be patient with this. You don't want to undercook your veggies. Anyway, so there you see the colors you're looking for. A nice brown color on both sides. And again, if you undercook it, it could easily ruin the meal. And that's it. Just store that away if you're doing it Friday, so we can do our prep, our actual cooking tomorrow. And that's all you need. You know, like I said, if you want to start ahead of time, you know, make sure the rice, if you're using long cook rice, make sure you soak that a little bit so it doesn't take you 40 minutes to cook the rice. And the other thing is the garbanzo beans. If you're not using canned, which I hope you're not, before class, like 10-15 minutes before class, boil the garbanzos so it softens them up a little bit. You don't want to cook it all the way through. 10 or 15 minutes in boiling water is plenty, because we're going to be boiling it for about 25 minutes in the Maqlubeh pot. Okay, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck.